You're listening to a podcast from the Finnish Football Show.
Hello and welcome to the Finnish Football Show. Today it's our absolute pleasure to welcome yet another special guest to the show, another current Finland international who has over 50 Huuhkajat caps to his name. A guy who has played at home in Finland, winning 5 Veikkausliiga titles, 3 as league and cup doubles, as well as having a stint in the MLS in United States, sandwiched between 2 spells in Sweden. A tough tackling, smooth passing, no-nonsense central midfielder, currently with Djurgården in Stockholm. Welcome to the show, Rasmus Schüller.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. It's my honor to be here in the show.
I mean, thanks for joining us, Rasmus. We know you've got a busy schedule in there in Sweden, and we really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us today. I think there's only one place to start, and that's to say congratulations on your new well-earned contract in Djurgården there.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, my previous contract with Djurgården was over the next 2 years also, but then the club approached me and said that, hey, shouldn't we make this a bit longer? And yeah, I was super happy about that approach and jumped on that train pretty quickly, and we got it sorted really, really quick. The negotiations wasn't that hard at all. So now I'm here for the next 4 years at least.
Nice, lovely. It's nice. Obviously, nice for you to be settled and see that your future is there. And yeah, and as I said there, it's really well earned. We'll get on to talk about your career and this recent season there in Sweden. But yeah, we've been keeping a close eye on you, and you've really deserved that new contract, mate. So well done. I mean, as I summarised in the intro there, you've played for some of the top clubs in Finland and Sweden, and you also had your season in MLS in America. But if we go back to the very start, you grew up in Espoo and played for local clubs FC Keke and HJK. How did your love of football first come about, and did you stand out as a talented boy in those early years?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So I have 3 siblings. I'm the second youngest, so 2 older siblings, and they both played before me. So there's a lot of pictures from me as a toddler just running about on the side of the field when my older siblings already played in teams. So that's why I got accustomed to football really early in my life, and then at some point, I think I was 5 years old, I said to my parents that I want to start out in a team as well. So then I started with a local club close to where we lived, FFS in Espoo, a small junior club. Played there for some years, and then I had a lot of good friends who played in Rade, which was a bit further from where we lived, but they were doing better than we were at Helsinki, and then I had some friends already playing there. So then I made the move to Rade, which is also a development club and a small club, but we were pretty successful at our age group in that team. Even though it was a small club. For example, at the C junior level, we were the unofficial Finnish championship tournament at C level is called Kai Palman Turnaus, after Kai Palman, a legendary Finnish footballer, and we made it all the way to the final where we lost to HJK. So that was a really big, a great achievement for a small club like that. But yeah, football came to me really early on and stuck on that path still, and I'm happy that I am, because I haven't had to make any difficult career choices in that sense in my life, because kind of always been on this path.
Signing that new 4-year contract was not a difficult decision either, was it?
No, not really. I enjoy my time in Stockholm so much, and the city is great, and the club is even greater. I only been here for 1 year, but I had, or from my part, I had the desire to come here earlier in my career. But from the club side, it's always it's a puzzle that has to fit, and it wasn't the right timing earlier. But now I'm really happy to be here and happy for the new contract.
Yeah, well, we mentioned those junior clubs there, Rade, but you didn't stay as a junior very long. I think you was around 17 years old. You made your debut for Espoo club FC Honka, and you scored your first Veikkausliiga goal in a victory over Kups just after your 18th birthday. I mean, how did it feel to be playing senior men's football in the top division at such a young age? And did you feel ready at that time, or was it a real plunge into the deep end for you?
Yeah, I mean, I started with the senior team really early on. I moved to Honka when it started as B juniors, because then HJK didn't have a team that was competitive anymore and played on a level that was high enough at B juniors. So then I and some other guys from HJK decided to make the switch to Honka, because that was the close, really good club for us. Then I played like 1 year with the Bees, and then quite soon I got like the chance to go and train with the first team. Who Honka at the time was it was a real, like how do you say, it was a hype around the club in Veikkaus.
Yeah.
Bana Lehkosuo was the coach, and Kari Martonen was the assistant, and I started training with them when I was 16 years old. I think just before my 17th birthday, I got my debut, and then almost at 17 years old, I was kind of regular. So Bana and Martsi really gave the chance to me early on and believed in me, and I'm super grateful for that. But of course, those first years were really, really tough to come from junior football. I played some games in the 3rd division with Honka's reserve team. I mean, you can't compare that 3rd division football to Veikkausliiga. So it was a super, like, big, how do you say? The challenge was great, but I mean, I'm happy that I got the chance, and I think I took the chance pretty well, because I got regular starts and became a big part of the team early on.
I mean, as you said, you did take the chance. You really took to the big stage. I think you even scored in your European debut when you found the net in the 74th minute of a Europa League qualifier against Welsh outfit Bangor City. I mean, you really did become an integral part of that Honka midfield for the next 3 seasons, with the club finishing runners-up in 2009 and then placing 4th in the following 2 seasons, meaning the Europa qualifying rounds for 3 years straight. I mean, how did you feel about your own form around that time, and also about the fortunes of the club, who they were, as you said, there was a lot of hype and they were really pushing at the top of the Veikkausliiga at that time?
Yeah, I mean, everything happened really quickly. So like the step from junior to all of a sudden being Veikkausliiga player happened really quick, and at the time, of course, it was really hard, but I don't think I really comprehended that I've taken this step. So I think, like, just to getting used to being a professional day in and day out, like once it's settled after 1 year, 1.5 years or something, I think that's when I realized, like, everything, when you make these jumps and everything goes like this, it just goes better and higher, and you score on your Europa League debut, it just feels this is easy, which it isn't at all. So then, like 1.5, or like, I don't know, after a season and a half, I think I like landed in it, that wow, what it takes to be a pro, and what it takes to go even further and still develop and be a better player. So it was smooth sailing first season, but then I think my couple of last seasons in Honka, I had some injuries, and I think it wasn't, maybe it was a little dip after that. You like settle in it, and then you understand that this isn't always going to go just upwards and onwards.
What did you have to do at that stage? Was it a mental thing, like making some changes to mentality, or did you have to do anything different in your training or lifestyle, or what?
Yeah, I think it was a long process for me. I don't really I should know this, but I did 3 or 4 seasons at Honka's A team, and then I got the move to HJK, and after the 3rd or 4th year at Honka, I was really tired. I was like beaten out of football because everything happened so quickly, and then after that, I didn't. When you make the debut as a young guy, the expectation on you, it grows, and the expectation for me grows as well. I think like after 1.5 years, 2 years there, I was like, okay, now I need to make a move. I need to go to a bigger league abroad, and that's what everybody's expecting from me, and I'm expecting from myself, but it didn't happen. So, and then 3rd year also, and nothing really happened, and I maybe didn't develop in my game as much either as I would have wanted to. So I was like football career wise, I was in a quite difficult place, I would say, after these years with Honka, and then like for me it was a very like unexpected thing that HJK came along and said that, hey, we want you here, because I don't think my season with Honka that last year was anything in particularly good. So I think that change of scenery from Honka to HJK, that helped me understand also what I need to do differently and what I need to improve and how I need to live my life to become a better player. Because in Honka, of course, you try to improve and you try to do things better, but you also need new challenges and new ideas from new people to make it easier for yourself to improve. And I think these coaches that I had early on in Honka, Bana and Martsi, and on the junior side, and Vesku has also, he's still with Honka, but he also had a big part at that time. But I think I gone as far as I could with them to learn, and they made so like big things for me as a player, but I needed a change to still be able to improve as a player.
As you say, Rasmus, that change came, and in 2012 you left Honka and made the short trip to Helsinki to sign for HJK. Clubby were 3 in a row Veikkausliiga champions at that time when you joined, and like you said, the decision you felt you needed that change of scenery, but you know you joined the biggest team in the country and they'd come calling for you. Were you confident that you would fit into that championship winning team?
To be honest, no, I wasn't. I knew Antti Muurinen was the head coach at the time, and the assistant was Juho Rantala, which I knew well because he was my coach at Mäkelä Rinteen Urheilulukio, the college for athletes in Helsinki. So we had a good connection, and I think he was the big key for that, because he liked me as a player and I liked him as a coach, and I think he was the one who set things in motion. So that helped me a lot that he was already there, and he helped me a lot during my first year there. But I have to say that I think it was Efu Tseneli. Of course, everybody know him, but he said, like, when I first came to practice with HJK, it was I think in February 2012. He said to me, Rasmus, you didn't come in as a big signing and like ready to take the stage, and like you were the guy who was going to make the difference in our team, and that's probably right. paid some money for me and Demba. So the belief from the other players were maybe that this guy is going to come in and make a difference instantly. But it took for me, I think, half a year in HJK, half a season to really get accustomed and really like starting to trust myself in that environment and make a difference. And then the last half year, that 2012 season, was really good for me. But the first half wasn't good at all. And I remember when you're a young player, you read media and like what the journalists think of you as a player and so forth. And I was bashed in media. They were like, no, this guy is not gonna make any difference in this team.
I mean, you after that first half season, you did settle down and you became pretty much an ever present in the HJK midfield for the next 4 seasons. I think you missed only a few games in 2014 through injury. You were chipping in with goals and assists, and you must have been really happy with how things were going at Clubby. You guys were pretty much unstoppable at that time, and you won a hat-trick of Veikkausliiga championships from your first season through to 2014. First of all, how did it feel to win the Veikkausliiga and then to go on to win that hat-trick of league titles? It must have been just something else.
Yeah, we had some great teams during my time there, and some great players. I got to play with some Finnish football legends. It was a great time. But I think the championship 2012, which was my first, and it was a difficult year for us in HJK, even though we won it at the end. But there had been huge changes in the team before that season, and so many new players in, and then we managed to win it. That was maybe the most special one for me. 2012, it was the first one. Is always special.
Yeah. I mean, you personally were playing some great football around this time. There was a memorable goal in the Champions League against Celtic in Glasgow, and it was these performances that saw you make your full international debut for the Huuhkajat. You'd been in the under-19 and under-21 youth setups, but it must have felt so good to see your excellent Veikkausliiga form rewarded with that call up to the A national team. Did you always believe that you would go on to represent your country, and how did you feel when Mixel handed your debut in 2013?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great moment and a dream come true. To be honest, I remember when I stopped playing, or when I became too old to play in the under-21 national team. At the time, we talked with some of the players after that last games, and I said like, okay, maybe this was it. This was like the last games we're gonna put on the Suomi jersey. So it was always a dream. It was always something I worked for, but at some points in my career, I didn't think that it was so, what's the English word? It's
achievable, man.
Achievable goal that was reachable. But then when it came, I mean, I was so happy, and it was 2012, and it was in Thailand, I think, and it was 2013. Sorry, 2013 was the year, and that was the year also when players like Mikael Forsell and these legends returned to Finnish football, and they were also, it was like a January camp that not all the best players are there for the national team, but still we had some huge players in those games for Finnish football, and through history has been like one of the best players. So sharing the pitch with a Suomi shirt on with these guys was incredible. But yeah, it was great to get it. But if you'd asked me like my last years in Honka, and when I still were part of the under-21 team, the Huuhkajat, I don't know if I would have said, yeah, in a couple of years I'm going to make my senior debut for the Finnish national team.
Well, we'll talk about Huuhkajat a little bit more in a little while. But if we go back now to the 2015 season ended with a new Veikkausliiga champion as Mark Wiltshire's HJK claimed the top spot. With HJK finishing
I enjoyed that
third.
season.
Yeah. Finishing third, 2 points behind them. I mean, many thought that a new champion was good for the integrity of the league. But how did you and your teammates feel after losing the title after you had such a firm grip on it for so many years?
Yeah, of course, it was hugely disappointing not to get it a year. But HJK did a good job, and as you say, it's always good for Finnish football when there's other healthy clubs coming up there and competing and pushing the standard of the league to get better. So HJK did a great job that year, and we were like lacking the whole season. We lost points here and there and didn't find the flow at any point. So yeah, well deserved for HJK that champion.
I think Keke it's a good point though, that while HJK are clearly the big beast in Finnish football, every other year or so, or every third year, someone else comes along and challenges, and it does get shared around a little bit. It's just that finding the staying power to do it year after year that's proven difficult.
Yeah.
This year is going to be interesting. That's all I'll say. I'll leave it there. We'll see how 2022 plays out.
Yeah. So yeah, after the 2015 season finished, Rasmus, you transferred to Sweden to join BK Häcken along with your HJK teammate Demba Savage. I mean, first of all, how did that transfer come about? And was playing outside Finland, you touched on it earlier, but was playing outside of Finland something that you always wanted to experience?
Yeah, that was also a very important move for me, because I played in the league, in Veikkausliiga, for such a long time, and it was always a dream for me to go abroad and play. And at a younger age, I maybe thought that my first step outside of Finland was going to be a bigger league than the Swedish league. You always have great dreams, but at that point, my agent had really good connections with HJK Häcken, and he had transferred some Finnish players there before. Tuomas Talvitie is his name, and Kari Arkivuo already played at the club, and I knew him, and I talked with him, and then the coaches and the sport director from Häcken came and see me in the fall, sometime after the summer, and really liked what they saw, and made a presentation of the club and the project they were having, and it felt really good. So that was a needed step for me to go to a more competitive league than the Finnish one, and I was I don't know, what was I, 23, 24, so it was about time for me to take the next step to see what or how far I can go as a professional footballer.
So how were those differences in Sweden, Rasmus? I mean, am I right in saying that Swedish is your first language? So was it easy for you to settle in there? And so how were the differences regarding, stadium, fans, the training regimes? Could you see that step up in quality moving to Sweden?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like if you compared HJK's team to BK Häcken's team, there wasn't much difference. It would have been, they played 10 games against each other. I don't know, both teams win some games and there's some draw. So comparing just these two teams, it wasn't a big move for me, like on to a higher level. But just going to a club or a league that's much more competitive, and then every other club in the league is almost at least at HJK's level, and then the other teams also then HJK, and then you get a different perspective. You play in a BK Häcken is a well-run club and a good club, and has their things sorted, but isn't the biggest club in Sweden. So coming to a environment that is more like you're a challenger, and you really have to push to have a good season, compared to HJK, where you're the one challenge and you have the better team than anybody else in the league. So it was a good point of view to change that and get that experience through playing at BK Häcken. But I mean, the league in itself is, I mean, all the stadiums are better in Sweden than, well, not all, but most of them, and every club that plays in the top flight is well organized and well run. Maybe if you compare to Finland, that's not always the case, which is a shame. So it was every game was tough for me, playing in that first year in Allsvenskan, compared to playing in Veikkausliiga, where every game, unfortunately, isn't maybe tough in the same way, playing for HJK.
Yeah, you made a total of 22 appearances for Häcken, scoring 1 goal. But during your time there, you suffered I think it was a knee ligament injury, which must have been difficult. But do you look back on your time in Gothenburg happily, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I forgot to say, but socially it was really easy to, as you said, go to Sweden because it's my first language. I have some relatives living in Gothenburg, so like outside the field, everything worked really nicely, and it was like an easy switch in that way also. But I look back at the time with fond memories. It was a good time for me, but at the same time, I played 22 games. I had some injuries. The spring was tough there, but like when I got fit, I started playing well, and then I got the proposal or offer from MLS because from Minnesota, because they thought I was a good player. So, and I had 2 years left on my contract, but I felt that the MLS adventure is, even though I liked Häcken, it's a more interesting challenge than staying further on in Gothenburg.
Before you fly off to the MLS, if I'm right, and I might not be, but it looks like the only time so far in your professional career that you got sent off was for Häcken. Is that right?
No, I changed it this year with.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, something about the Swedish league.
Yeah. So I got sent off with against Malmö. We played home. Or with Häcken, we played home against Malmö. I got sent off because of 2 yellow cards. So that's the only time I've been sent off for 2 yellow cards, because this year I got sent off for a straight red card.
Yeah, we might get to that later. But yes, as you say, Rade, you went off to Minnesota. I think Minnesota United paid around €500,000 to take you to the United States. I mean, first of all, you said there that the MLS interested you, but were you familiar with MLS before you went? And secondly, I know there was a loan move back to HJK in the middle of your time with the Loons, but during which you collected your full Veikkausliiga championship. But how do you reflect on your time in America, having played over 50 games there?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great adventure, and did so well for me to get into a completely different culture, completely different everything of life, because I only lived in Scandinavia or the Northern Europe before that. But to be honest, before I made the move, I didn't really know anything about MLS, and especially nothing of Minnesota United. When I first heard of it, I was in Sri Lanka with my girlfriend on vacation, and my agent called me because the time difference really late, like sometime during the night to Sri Lanka, and like Minnesota United wants you. And I was like, well, I know Minnesota Wild. I don't think is this a hockey team? What's happening? I didn't know what that was. But then once we started talking, I started making some research, and I found out more about the league and more about the club. I just felt like this was an opportunity too good to turn down. And
so is it the whole culture and new life in a totally different? Does that something that interests you as well as the playing side?
Yeah, that was part of it, and that was part of, like, I always wanted to know my limits as a person and a footballer, to know how far you can reach and what level you can play on. And Allsvenskan is a very good league, but as a 26-year-old, 25-year-old, like, staying in Allsvenskan and having the opportunity to really challenge myself in the USA, I felt that I was hungry to see something else and see something more, and that's why I jumped on it. And looking back at it, I'm really happy to have done that part in my career, because otherwise I think I would feel like, did I really challenge myself? Did I really maybe try to be as good as I can be in football and see different cultures, different nations, because that's a huge part of being a pro footballer. There's so many opportunities, if presented, you can take, and that was a big part of it. So yeah.
And another big part of being a footballer is being bought and sold. But €500,000, is it euros, dollars? That's a lot of money. How did that feel to know that was how much someone was prepared to pay for you?
It's a weird, the transfer system, looking from not the football perspective, it's a weird thing. So we're bought and sold, and we're merchandise as anything else, but it felt good. It felt that I was recognized for the job I've done as a footballer. Not only, I think I made some steps in Häcken that year, but I think at the same time I was quite like near the level I also played in HJK. But playing in Allsvenskan, you're under such a bigger radar, and more clubs and different markets are scouting you. So it was a recognition for the work I've done for past years. So it felt good, for sure.
If I can say, Rasmus, fans of clubs in Europe sometimes look at MLS and think maybe the league isn't as, I don't know, well known or as European leagues. So do you guys as footballers, is there some consideration for your international career and the prospects of continuing playing international football when you move to a league like MLS? Does that even come into your thinking when you're making those transfers?
Yeah, of course it does. But during that time, my place in the Huuhkajat squad, I wasn't a regular in any way. I was part of the squad and I was getting call-ups, but I wasn't there to be a regular starter yet. So I looked at it more from a perspective that this is a chance for me to make steps in my game so that I can also become a better player and in the long run take a starting position in Huuhkajat. So I think it's different for somebody who's when they're thinking of a move to MLS, there are already a starter for a national team, and then going there with the time difference and flying over to Europe to play those international games can be challenging. But for me, it wasn't really the case at that time.
Yeah, I mean, as you said there, you were in the squads, maybe not in the starting 11, but you were in the squads. I think Mixer had moved on at that time, and we'd been through the difficult Hans Backe era. But once Rade was appointed manager, things really started to click for Finland. You obviously knew Rade from your time in the youth setup, but could you feel yourself that things were going to be different once Markku Kanerva was given the top job?
Yeah, I mean, the not maybe like 100% like early on and straight away, because the national team was in a difficult place, and the guys, the team's like self-belief and all of that wasn't good enough to get results straight away. But like looking back at it, appointing Markku was the right thing to do and the perfect decision, because he knew the Finnish, those players in the Finnish squad and players that was maybe coming to the squad, and the whole of the national team pool of players he knew in and out, and so he really knew how to mold that team into a successful one, and how to get the best out of every player. And of course it doesn't happen like under one night. It's a longer process, but he knew he had the vision, and he had the work methods to make that happen. So and the players really bought into it. I think first it was maybe some question marks from players when Rive was appointed, because it's always like that. Somebody comes from inside, the house, and you know him almost too well, So it's like you need. It was like, shouldn't we get some big name like Hans Backe was, but it turned out disastrously. So that was maybe the questions, that it wasn't. Is this the right way to go? But like retrospective is the perfect way to go.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to ask was, what's Rive like? Like, so the change from kind of the deep dark times of the Backe era towards kind of the country and the football team that we are now it's obviously it's a huge change. Is Rive like, what's his kind of core skill? Is he like a good man manager? Like, is he good interpersonally, or is he good tactically, or like what's the thing that stands out for him as a coach?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's just one core thing that makes him the great coach he is, but of course, as I said, that was part of the initial success, that he really knew every player, and he really knew how to handle every player and how to get the best out of the players. So he's really good, and I think you can see that he has his master's degree in pedagogics, and he's a former teacher, that he knows how to get his message through to the player. And also tactically, he's super thorough. We can sit in meetings for like the change from Hans Backe's time to Rive's. We almost at Hans Backe's, under his period, he was there for a short while, and I don't think we really then got to know him and all his qualities as a coach, because he wasn't there for long enough, but he couldn't be because the results weren't good enough.
Yeah.
But like we had quite short meetings, and we went through together outside the field with him. Compared to Rive, it was like the time we put down to get things right, the change was huge. And that's big part of Rive's approach. Being a coach, he really is thorough and tries to get his ideas like banged into everybody's head, that everybody for sure knows what he wants us to do together on the field.
Yeah, that was that you kind of touched on what I was going to ask, which was, when Hans Backe was the manager and you were in the squad, was there a level of, I don't know, dissatisfaction or something among the players, or were you somehow frustrated by how things were being done? Obviously, the results and the performances is one thing, but you can see sort of what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can't talk for him, because I have no clue what his plan for the whole setup was. But for me, it felt like he didn't know the squad and the player pool well enough once he took on the job. So it took too long of a time for us to figure out, I felt like for him to figure out which player should be used for us to be the best we can and optimize the team. So that process was quite long, and at the same time, when you're the national team and you should deliver results at the same time, you can't like use time in a way that like you should be just prepared and deliver. But that took a long time, and I think that's also maybe could be seen as some question marks inside the squad, that maybe why are we doing things in a certain way when we could maybe get better results in another way.
Yeah, I mean, at least from a fan's perspective at that time, I think the overriding thing that we remember, and we talked about this quite a lot because it was the same sort of time that we started. But for us, he gave the impression that he didn't actually believe in the squad. Like the setup for almost all of the games was at least 5 at the back, but it was most often sort of 5 at the back with 1 or 2 defensive midfielders sort of sitting in to protect. And you think, well, that's like, 7 players sort of sitting on the edge of your box, and so just all you're left with is pumping long balls and chasing shadows. So it was a real, I mean, sure, it was very frustrating for you, but it was frustrating as hell for us, because we always thought, and it was such a relief when Rade came along, because it proved that we actually play with a decent tactical system, and of course we can go get results.
For those that haven't heard it, Mark, also haven't heard this before, but I think our 5th episode was titled, "Is this the worst time to start a podcast about Finnish football?"
I mean, thankfully we did get Rade, and things really did start to look up. I mean, through the First Nations League campaign and through Euro 2020 qualifying, you yourself, Rasmus, were getting regular substitute appearances throughout this period, and you were an integral part of the squad that did so well to win League C of the Nations League and to make all our Finnish football dreams come true when you guys qualified for Euro 2020. I mean, if we can ask you just to cast your mind back to that November night back in 2019, and we ask all our guests to give us their memories of that famous night. How were you feeling when you were sat there watching history unfold from your place on the bench, knowing that you were one of the squad that had delivered the dream?
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. A period and time in my life also. It was so historic. I have to say that the belief that this might happen, that we might make the Euros realistically, happened after the game we had against Armenia in Turku, the previous games before this Liechtenstein and Greece game, which were the last ones, because we played a very good game against Armenia, 1-3-0, and then sitting at the bus getting back to Helsinki from Turku, we got the result. Was it Bosnia and Greece that they played? Was it a draw, or Bosnia lost points?
Yeah.
So after that, we knew that by winning Liechtenstein home, we will make it. So when we got the results from that Bosnia-Greece game, it was just, I mean, something happened like chemically inside me. It was like pure happiness inside me. I can't recall many times in my life when I felt as good as then. So that was the first time it really sank into me that, wow, this might happen. And then, of course, the Liechtenstein game and that night and evening and when the final whistle blew and it happened, it was just, I don't know, euphoria. It was just, I remember like hugging so many strangers and just like crying together on the field and like hugging like robust strange men, like we loved each other. It was beautiful.
That's football.
Yeah, it was certainly an unforgettable night. It was absolutely fantastic, and you can see by the smile on your face there, Rade, that it really did mean a lot to you. We'll get back to the Huuhkajat, but focusing on your club career again. Once you left Minnesota, you decided there was still a little bit of room in that trophy cabinet for another Veikkausliiga championship, and you headed back to HJK for your third spell. You played a further 26 games for Klubi, scoring 4 goals on the way to collecting another league and cup double. Was this spell in Helsinki always going to be just for the one season, and was your ultimate goal to move abroad again to test yourself in another league?
Yeah, I mean, after 3 years in Minnesota, I felt that I need to get back closer to home because I felt that the time in MLS had been very rewarding and giving to me, but after 3 years, I felt that like the travels, and I was there alone and without my family, I felt that I need to come closer back to home. And then another thing that I had to do was do the military service in Finland at that point. I should have done it when I got called up at 18 years old, but I didn't because I thought it was going to mess up my football career too much. So for every young listener, do it as soon as you can and straight away. I think that's easier and that makes more sense. But I had to come back to Finland either way in the fall after the MLS campaign to do my service. And then my girlfriend at the time lived in Stockholm, in Sweden. So that was kind of my two choices. It was Helsinki or Stockholm I wanted to go to. And at that point, I actually did a trial with HJK, but they didn't feel like they needed me at that time. So then it was, and Djurgården had no sign of interest. So that's why HJK had some, so that's why I spent a week there. But then when nothing happened, I signed with HJK and was happy to do it because that's my home, and that's been my club for biggest and most successful parts of my career. So it was that was the right choice. But yeah, after a year, it was the same situation. Girlfriend still living in Stockholm, and we needed to figure things out. So yeah, that was then, of course, really super interesting football-wise, but also the switch was partly, or big part of it was because of the social side to move to Stockholm.
That's a really interesting point. I mean, we as fans, you sometimes completely forget that there's a personal side and a life. You guys have a life outside of the pitch and the training center. It's like it's sometimes it's easy as a fan to forget that. So it's really, really interesting to hear that side of your decision process as well. But
and also Keke, we're seeing similar thing maybe with Kieran Trippier coming back to the UK and going to Newcastle when he's at Atletico Madrid, and you might think he's got it made over there, but clearly there's family. I mean, there's got to be a reason to join Newcastle.
Yeah.
Other than the football, isn't there?
You would think the money is in Atletico also.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Mark. What can I say?
Yeah.
Can't resist.
But yeah, if we bring things up to date, Rade, you did move to Stockholm. You joined Swedish giants Djurgården in January last year, and yeah. So as you say, HJK missed out really. If they didn't take you, you'd now joined their bitter city rivals. Did you believe that you would have the impact so quickly that you've had at Djurgården there?
Difficult question to answer. I knew that they had also Djurgården after the season 2020. They had big personal changes in the squad, and I knew that they needed players in that was going to take big responsibility, and there were 11 new players in ahead of last year, and I was maybe one of the more experienced ones of those 11 players. So I knew that there was a big role to take for me if I was up to the challenge. So I knew it was a really interesting sporting challenge for me also. But then just felt really at home straight away, and got a good connection with the coaches and good connection with the other guys in the team, and really fitted into the squad and built from there. So it was a very good move in just looking back at it.
It was I mean, we've seen Djurgården release that little video clip when you to announce that you'd signed that new contract that we spoke about, and it was such a great little video clip. There's a clip of you, just a few seconds there. You're in like a huddle with your teammates. I think it must be an away game because you guys are wearing a red jersey, and you're the one who's with the finger and telling the guys like, this is what we're going to do. It's like just a split second of a clip, but it's such a great little insight to how you fit into that Djurgården team and that squad. And it's really, really great. I mean, your form has been absolutely excellent since arriving in Sweden, and that's rewarded you with more and more game time at international level. I think most HJK fans would have been certain that you would have been in the squad for Euro 2020, but how were your own feelings when you were waiting for the final squad to be announced? And did you feel as confident as us that you would be included?
I was feeling pretty confident because we had those last games before the team was announced. Was last spring. It was Ukraine away, and what was the other game? I can't remember. It was Bosnia home, Ukraine away. I was a bit sick before the game against Bosnia. I think I would have started if I wouldn't have been sick during that first couple of days of that camp. But then I felt better and started against Ukraine, and I think we did a solid game against a hard opponent away, and that really gave confidence for me that I can help the team in the midfield and be a balancing player there, and I think the coaches also saw that, so that gave me confidence that I might be in the Euro squad. But I mean the time before the announcement and also after, that time in the spring when you're playing games with your club, and it was really stressful, but because I was so stressed that I was going to get injured. So of course you go full on when you play and you give the best you have, but you're so please let not anything happen now. So that was maybe also a big part of that, stress before the announcement and before that final camp in end of May.
Yeah, I mean, you featured in all three of our Euro games, and it's certainly something that you can be very proud of. But we quickly had to move on and start focusing on the road to the 2022 World Cup. I mean, you played a part in every one of those qualifying series, most recently starting the home game against France in Helsinki. All four of us from the Finnish football show were there actually, and in the Olympic Stadium to watch that game. You had captained the side that had beaten the world champions back in November 2020, and so you must have been confident going into the game, but you found yourself on the receiving end of another early booking, having previously picked up a yellow card after only 2 minutes of the away game for what we all thought was a pretty innocuous challenge. We commented on both occasions that it was a pretty bizarre decision from both referees so early on. How was that for you? Was it hard for you to play an aggressive game with the threat of that second yellow card hanging over you? Were these early bookings on your mind, or are you just able to shrug that off and refocus on the game plan?
Yeah, I mean it's a good question, and of course as a defensive midfielder, and that's such an integral part of my game, to win the balls and to play hard and to be a pain in the ass to the opponent. To get an early booking really makes it more difficult to play like that, and it was so frustrating because at the home game in November in Helsinki against France, was so clear. I think it was an Italian referee. He felt like he was frustrating being in cold Helsinki that day, and he just came there to try to protect Mbappe and these guys. A little, touch on his boot, and he was like, and Mbappe made a very dramatic fall, and he was straight up like, I'm going to give a yellow card because I feel like it, and nobody's going to touch Mbappe anymore in this game. So it made it more difficult for sure, but I think you have to compose yourself a little bit more than going into challenges. But I think it didn't like, I don't know. I think I managed the situation still in a good balance, that I didn't, drop my aggressivity too much after that booking. But of course, it's more hard to go into challenges knowing that one slip and you're out of the game.
When you were talking just there, you were painting a picture, and I suddenly imagined myself in your position in the middle of the field with all that green around me and 30,000 fans going nuts, and it gave me just a bit of a chill. Even thinking about it, and we were standing somewhere in and among the Pohjois-Karre. That must be a hell of a buzz. The words you just said, I was in the first couple of minutes and I challenged Mbappe and he fell over. That's quite something to be able to say about your hobby and your job.
You're absolutely right, and when you say it like that, it's phenomenal to be able to do that, and it was just great that we like you really feel the hype, and you really feel how the Finnish people has taken Huuhkajat like to their heart and really stand behind the team, and it's, I mean, it was just incredible. Those games are the best, playing in sold out crowds before your fellow Finns and just, playing your heart out for the national team and for the Finnish flag is incredible.
It was my first Huuhkajat game, and me and my wife Satu came down from Seinäjoki on the train, had a night out, met up with these guys. And it was amazing. We did the whole march from the centre of Helsinki up to the stadium. And just yesterday, Satu said to me, I really miss watching the Huuhkajat at Helsinki. And I was like, we've only done it once. Yeah, but I can't wait to go again. So I think early June, chaps, we'll be there.
Make it happen. I mean, it's you spoke there, Rade, of your pride playing for Finland, and ultimately we fell just short of a playoff spot this time, but it really truly was an amazing atmosphere in Helsinki for that final game, and for the team to be going into that final game with something to play for is certainly a step in the right direction. How do you feel that the campaign went, and are you yourself already, same as us fans, looking forward to the Nations League games coming up with Huuhkajat?
Yeah. I mean, I felt that we really took steps during this campaign. We always been, under Markku, we've been very solid defensively for a long time. But I think these last games, playing this 3-5-2 or 5-3-2 formation, I think we really took steps offensively and figured out what we didn't figure out. We always know what we want to do, but we got there better than we did before. So that really gave confidence, I think, going further forward. And that game against France, we lost, but it was a good game. I think playing or challenging like the world champions in that way. And the game against Bosnia also before that was a really, really good game. So I'm really looking forward to Nations League, and I'm really looking forward to March and our training or our games against Slovakia and Iceland. Yeah. So I really, those are always highlights of one season, and they really I'm really fortunate to be able to play those games, but it's really like it's so nice to know that. Of course, I love to play for Djurgården and love to play those club games also, but it's like it's the topping on the cake to get those games a couple times a year.
Yeah, and I mean, and you're 100% right. Like, I think we had about 20 minutes after the start of the second half against France, where we were a goal behind and we started chasing the game. And we knocked the ball around. And this is, I mean, it's going to sound silly, but we knocked the ball around like a proper team. Like France struggled to keep up, and they were sort of running in circles. And I thought, I don't know, a bit of slice of luck here or there, and I think you're back in the game, and it's a really hard night for Mbappe and co. But it's such a, I mean, we said it before how far Finland have come, but it's it's kind of unbelievable to watch because it's so enjoyable. Like watching Finland is so enjoyable now. So we have to say thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you that you've been watching us for all these years before also.
I mean, so if we just have another little chat about Allsvenskan, Rade, obviously it's a league we like to keep an eye on with these because there's quite a few Finns spread across the various Swedish clubs. Saku Ylötupa started the season really well in AIK, but he's now made the move to Sundvall today. Joona Toivio had his farewell season at Häcken. Leo Väisänen was doing some really great things at Elfsborg, and Saku Eriksson was the goalkeeper of the season with his heroics for his club, Mjällby. It was fantastic to see you running the midfield for a team who sat top of the league for so much of the season. It really was an exciting end to the campaign, and you added your bronze medal to your trophy cabinet. How do you reflect on the season and the third place finish? And do you believe that your Djurgården side can go that little bit extra and win that title next year?
Yeah, I 100% believe that. I mean, I think we played some great football with Djurgården last year. We were really good in the spring, good in the summer, but then we got a dip at the crucial time. So it was a good season for us. Thankfully, it ended with a Euro spot and a third place. But I mean, at the same time, we're disappointed that we didn't bring home the championship because we had all the potential and the chances to do that. But I think in the future that we really have the chance to go on and do even better. The team is not as much changes this year as before last season, and we brought in 2 new players that really gonna help us already, and I think we're gonna bring in some new guys, like also not only them. So I'm really looking forward and confident for the future, and like you said, it's fun also to play against Saku and all these guys and have friends in different teams, and it gives that extra spice to it. It really does. It's a fun league, and it's so competitive. It's every year it feels like there's, I don't know, 5-6 clubs that can really go for the championship. So it's open every year. So it's fun to be part of that.
I've been lucky enough to visit Stockholm and see actually one of the Stockholm derbies. It was Djurgården HJK a few years ago, and the atmosphere is absolutely something else. It's honestly, it's one of the best matches I've witnessed. It's the fans really do put on a show with the smoke and the flares. It's unbelievable. So hopefully I can get myself out there to cheer you guys on. But I read somewhere, and when we were messaging, Rade, you confirmed that you've been studying for a law degree. I mean, is there some ambition for a career after football, or did that studying come in handy when you're negotiating this new contract for yourself? What's the story behind that?
quick, sign him up. Studying.
Yeah, it does come handy to understand a little bit more of the fine print in those papers than without reading law and studying for a degree. I mean, I always liked combining studies with football. I did it, I mean, as growing up, doing school and doing college, or is it college in English?
Yeah.
Yeah, university, I guess. Or...
Yeah. So then I was a couple of years without. When I finished my school, just playing, but then I realized that I miss it, and I want to keep reading and keep learning new stuff. So then I applied for law school in Helsinki and got in 2015, and still there, not ready yet, but I should get my bachelor now in January. So I'm doing that on the side, and it's been like really good for me. Also, just to get balance in life, not only playing football, because it's sometimes when it's not going your way professionally, it's good not to have all the eggs in the same basket, and it's nice to be able to say that, hey, I can pick up this thing also, and not only football defines me as a person, when you have other things to do also.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly really interesting side to you, Rade. I mean, yeah, but going back to the football, it's speaking about the Huuhkajat, it's somewhat the end of an era. What with Joona Toivio and Paulus Arjuri announcing that they'll no longer play international football. First of all, what has it meant to you playing alongside those guys, and how do you feel the likes of Robert Ivanov, Daniel O'Shaughnessy, and the Väisänen brothers coming into the side? How do you feel that they can taking those places?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a huge change, and now with Tim also announcing his retirement from football, it's leaving some big holes to fill, because I mean, just great players, but even like greater personalities and guys to have on the team, and such leaders, all of them. So there is going to be, or there has already been changes there, but I mean, I like to see changes also, like not as a threat, but as an opportunity. And I think these last games we already saw Auroba and Leo and these guys, how they stepped up and really taken the field and added their qualities to the team, because every player is different, and you build a team around different player types and different qualities. But I mean, now when there's this change, it also gives us a chance to make things at least differently, but hopefully a little bit better also. But it's going to take, of course, it's not going to happen overnight to fill these shoes.
How did it feel for you in the last year, kind of becoming a more and more regular fixture in the team at around the same time that Tim Sparv's career has slowly come to an end? It felt really like a natural transition. 2 years ago, the thought of Tim not playing the team would have been quite sort of scary. Yeah. But it's not now. You're there, you're in the team, and it's your place.
Yeah. I mean, Tim and my relationship has always been great, and Tim has been like the main guy in the team, and the captain, and the guy who makes things happen, like outside the field and on the field. And I think my role before has been more of like, trying to see what he needs, and when he is not able to play, to try to fill that gap in the best way I can. But we always had like such a relationship, just like mutual, trust and trying to help out one another. So I feel really like honored to now play maybe in the position that Tim has played before, and I know that he's just like, don't think I can upfill his legacy, but I feel that it's just a great opportunity to be there and trying to also make those teams. Tim has taught me a lot about football, and just like to trying to carry on the things also that he has left on with Huuhkajat, but I feel that I really like it to be able to play more and really to have now got the chance to take a bigger part also on the field in the team. So I'm really thankful to have this position now.
No, you really deserve it, Rasmus. I mean, you've really made that midfield general role your own, and you've been acting as the enforcer, the destroyer, and the first line of attack across the middle of the park. It's honestly, I think I speak for all of us when I say it's an absolute joy to watch you play, Rade, and it's been a pleasure to have you on our show. I mean, we've kept you for I don't know how long, but we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, mate. And it's a real pleasure to watch you play. I mean, guys.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can't add any more to that. I think particularly how much you've grown as a player in the last 2 or 3 years, it's been phenomenal to watch, and I really think as I mentioned before, it's a pleasure to watch Finland now. And one of the main things is how we move the ball around middle of the pitch, how we cope with pressure, how we keep composure. It's one of your core strengths, man, and it's just, I don't know, it's just fantastic to watch you. Thank you, man.
Thank you for the great words. I'm blushing, I think.
Well, next time you walk out onto the pitch, you can remember the words from your boys in the Finnish football show. Take them out there with you and know that if we were standing in the middle of that pitch, our knees would be trembling as Mbappe comes running towards us. And, just make sure you kick him a little bit more carefully next time.
Yeah, that's it. Well, yeah, Rasmus, seriously, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. We wish you all the very best with Djurgården next season, and of course we'll be keeping an eye on you there in Allsvenskan and hoping that you can go that one better and claim your title there next season, and we'll be watching you and the rest of the guys with the Huuhkajat, and we hope you're there in the middle of the park for many more years to come, mate. It's been a pleasure to speak to you, and thanks so much for coming on.
No, thank you. The honor's been mine, and I think the time has gone really quick. I felt that we just started, so it's a good time.
You have been listening to the Finnish Football Show. You can find us online at finishfootballshow.com. Remember to subscribe to the show wherever you're listening or watching. You can follow the Finnish Football Show page and group on Facebook and on Instagram. See the links in the episode description below. You can also connect with the 4 hosts on Twitter, @Explore Finland, @FC Suomi, @Escape to Suomi, @Keke. Links to the Finnish Football Show merch stores are also in the episode description.